The boardroom shimmered with polished shoes and sharp suits, the kind of place where influence was carried as effortlessly as wristwatches. At the center of the long table stood a gleaming car engine, its steel frame, twisted wires, and intricate bolts commanding the attention of every executive. They circled it like hunters studying prey, dissecting numbers, specifications, and strategies with cold precision. The air shifted when a sudden burst of laughter sliced through the tension. At the head of the table stood Cassandra Veron, the youngest female CEO the city had ever seen. She carried herself like royalty in a kingdom of skyscrapers, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. That laughter, however, wasn't warm, it was mocking, aimed squarely at a man who clearly didn't belong in their world of glass walls and million-dollar contracts. His name was Daniel Cross. Unlike the others, he wore no tailored suit, no polished cufflinks. His janitor's uniform carried stains of sweat and effort, his hands roughened with calluses earned through survival. Daniel wasn't part of this world. He was simply there to clean its floors. A widowed father, he had taken the job to make sure his young daughter had a roof over her head and food on her plate. On that day, he was pushing his cart past the executives when the engine caught his eye. He stopped for a moment, studying it with quiet intensity. To the others, it was just a machine, a project, a contract, a deal. To Daniel, it was something different. It was a puzzle, a heartbeat of steel, a reminder of dreams he once had before. Tragedy forced him to abandon them. Years ago, he had studied mechanical engineering, fueled by ambition and curiosity. But when his wife passed away during childbirth, school and career fell away. His life narrowed to one mission, raising his daughter alone. Still, the sight of that engine stirred something inside him, memories of late nights studying diagrams. By dim light, the smell of oil in his father's garage, the lessons of patience and precision. Cassandra noticed his gaze lingering. With a smirk curling at her lips, she asked mockingly, "Do you think you can fix this?" The room erupted in laughter, executives shaking their heads at the absurdity. But she wasn't done. Leaning forward, she added with arrogance dripping from every word, "If you can repair this engine right now, I'll marry you." The laughter grew louder, echoing through the boardroom. To everyone else, it was a cruel joke, but to Daniel, it was something more, a chance, not at marriage, but at respect, at dignity, at proving, if only once, that he was more than the uniform he wore. He stepped forward, his heart pounded in his chest, his shirt still damp from hours of scrubbing floors. But his gaze was steady. He asked for tools, his deep voice silencing some of the laughter. A few executives snickered, others whispered that it was ridiculous. Cassandra leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, fully expecting his failure. But Daniel didn't look at her. He focused on the engine. Every wire, every bolt reminded him of why he once dreamed of this work. Slowly, methodically, his hands moved, rusty at first, but steadier with every turn, every adjustment. The room, that had been filled with laughter, grew quieter as his determination unfolded before the beads of sweat rolled down Daniel's brow. As he tightened bolts, adjusted circuits, and pieced the machine back together, his mind wasn't just on the engine, it was on his little girl, Aria, waiting for him at home. 7 years old, with hopeful eyes that always searched for reassurance. She often asked why their life seemed smaller than others. He had promised. Her late mother whispered in a hospital room filled with grief that he would give their daughter everything he could, minute by minute. The mockery in the room faded. Executives leaned forward, smirks replaced by wide-eyed curiosity. Cassandra's smug confidence faltered as she realized this janitor wasn't fumbling, he was rebuilding. And then, with one final adjustment, the engine roared to life. The sound filled the boardroom, vibrating through the walls, silencing every voice. Gasps erupted, followed by scattered applause. The impossible had unfolded before their eyes. Cassandra, once so sure of his failure, sat frozen in disbelief. Daniel had done what their top experts hadn't managed. But for him, it wasn't about applause or wagers. It was about proving to himself and to his daughter that he was more than circumstance. After the meeting, several executives approached him, curiosity replacing condescension. They asked about his background, his experience. For the first time in years, someone looked at him not as a janitor, but as a man of skill. Cassandra, silent and humble, watched as her cruel dare turned into Daniel's opportunity. Days later, Daniel was offered a position not as a cleaner, But as an apprentice mechanic in the company's automotive division, it wasn't just a promotion, it was a doorway that had long been bolted shut. That evening, when he told Arya, she hugged him tightly, asking with innocent hope if this meant new books and maybe piano lessons. Through tears, he told her yes, things were going to change. Weeks grew into months. Daniel's dedication earned him admiration. He wasn't just fixing engines anymore, he was rebuilding his life. His co-workers respected not only his talent, but also his humility and the way he always spoke of his daughter with pride. Even Cassandra's view of him shifted, though her words about marriage had been a cruel jest. She couldn't ignore the strength and resilience of the man she once mocked. His story spread within the company, a legend whispered in hallways and boardrooms. The janitor who turned humiliation into triumph became a symbol of grit and dignity. Daniel hadn't just repaired an engine, he had repaired the way people saw him, and perhaps the way they viewed the value of perseverance. For Daniel, the victory wasn't about proving Cassandra wrong or impressing a room full of executives. It was about his daughter, about keeping a promise, about knowing that their small world of two could still shine, even when life had tried to bury them beneath hardship. The day that engine roared to life was more than a machine brought back. From silence, it was the rebirth of hope. Daniel had reignited not only his future, but also the belief that no uniform, no title, no circumstance could truly define a person's worth. And in the end, what he gained was far greater than any cruel bet. He gained the chance to give his daughter the life she deserved, the pride of knowing he could still dream, and the dignity of a man who refused to be kept down. His story became a reminder to all who heard it. The greatest victories don't come from power or wealth, but from love, resilience, and the courage to rise when the world expects you to fall.